Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here. It's Wednesday, guys, of our Blair Witch Week coverage. Hashtag Blair Witch Week, right?
Hashtag Blair Witch.
Yeah, and we are talking about a film that a lot of people don't like to discuss because it wasn't as influential as the original Blair Witch Project. It was Book of Shadows, The Blair Witch 2, and upon rewatching, not as bad as we remember it, honestly.
I always was a fan. Don't drag me into that.
I definitely was not as much of a fan.
I stayed true to the Blair Witch from day one. Let's get that straight.
See, here's the prism I'm going to put this through. 'Cause at the end of the movie, I sort of had a bit of a revelation about it, and I'm like, okay, here's how the resolution goes, and I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but at the end of it, I was like, okay, at the time, I can see why I was disappointed in how this went. It felt like it could have been very much a cop-out, especially considering how everyone died at the end of the first one, and then that didn't end up happening at the end of this one, essentially, but there was a twist, a Shyamalanian twist.
And this was post Sixth Sense, right?
This was post Sixth Sense, but I appreciated it way more this time because at the time I was like, this isn't what I want. This isn't what Blair Witch was. This is disappointing. This sucks. I don't like it.
Well, it's totally different.
Now, through the prism of 2016 and having watched, 14 years worth of witch movies in between.
Which you don't typically like.
No, I don't typically like it. This actually, I looked at it, I was like, that was actually kind of a unique ending. Like, we don't see things ending quite that way anymore, where most of the cast kind of survive, but not quite in, the best of ways.
No.
So it was really interesting. I liked it way better this time than I did in the past when I saw it.
And I actually saw this one in theaters. I didn't see the original one in theaters, but I still remember how it was so of the time with like the Marilyn Manson music and like the whole industrial goth chick who's in it and whatnot.
Typical
it was
presentation
as cliched from The Craft. I mean, like scooped right from there, and there was all of these other like archetypes of the era as far as like Scream type stuff goes. But the story was interesting because it was a continuation. It was like basically what is the world like after the Blair Witch phenomenon is hit.
It was a continuation in
the
real world
of the mythology.
Right. It was a result of the hysteria and fandom from Blair Witch, where it came across as being real, that people couldn't distinguish if it was really real or if it was fiction, and the effects that movie had to the town of Burkittsville.
Well, a more recent example, just real quick, is The Human Centipede, where there was the first movie, and then in the second movie, there's a character that is obsessed with the first movie. And this second Blair Witch movie starts off with a phenomenon that has been created in Maryland as a result of the first Blair Witch movie.
Yeah, and it pulls you in so well with the Siskel and Ebert footage, with the Kurt Loder on MTV
talking about
it.
Wow, that was a blast from the past.
Oh my gosh, when the MTV News thing came on, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
you're fine.
Oh my god, I laughed so hard. I was like, oh my god, MTV News. Like,
it took you right back to the era though, right?
Absolutely.
And it also really took the whole post-Scream meta approach to horror, like big time. The fact that people are obsessed with it, the people who live in the real Burkittsville, was that the name of the place? Yeah. Those woods, they're out doing tours. They're selling Blair Witch cups and merchandise and all this crap.
Capitalizing on it.
Big time, milking it.
And it's funny because the essentially what I would consider the three main leads were, it was Firuza Balk Light, because it was after The Craft.
The aforementioned
It was
girl.
Rebecca Gayheart Light because it was after Urban Legend.
Who plays
then,
like the Wiccan, like.
And then it was Walter Goggins, or Walton Goggins.
Walter Goggins.
Light. And he hadn't really done much by then, I don't think, but guy looked exactly like him. And then I think the lead dude is actually, frankly, I was going to say if you put a goatee on Lucifer from Supernatural, he's kind of a young version of Mark Pellegrino, too.
So to continue the story, his
Burn
character...
Notice? Is it Burn Notice I'm thinking of? Or is that
yes, maybe he is the guy from Burn Notice.
I don't watch that, so...
No, Bruce Campbell's on that, dude.
I know,
but
can't watch everything, man.
I know.
Get off my nuts.
You have a very healthy plate of stuff. But so his character, the dude that we were just discussing, he's out giving tours of the woods, and you're kind of left to wonder, is he like pulling chains, or is he really legitimately believe in all of this stuff? And they encounter another group of travelers people from China, Germany. It shows
was the
that
rival.
The legend
this is
has
the Blair
really
Witch
spread.
Hunt group, and it was the rival Blair Witch Walk group.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both doing the same thing, but with people like international travelers there, it shows that the legend has spread all across the globe, the fascination.
And actually, I really liked how they tied that group back in eventually.
Yeah.
Frankly. I was
Yeah,
like,
I thought so too.
that's really cool. Like, it was actually a pretty well-crafted movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the acting was a little over the top at times,
Yes.
and
They
it was all
really-
no names for the most part, similar to the original movie.
Yeah.
But I felt like that lent to the fact that these could be real people, and so hey, I thought that
Which
was
ties
effective.
into the whole, like, this is the real people. But it was more cinematic than it was what the Blair Witch original was.
Because it was not found footage.
It was not found footage.
They did incorporate
They didn't say
cameras
it
in
was
and
a
stuff.
documentary. They didn't try to pull any of that, but it was to give you that feeling of like this is the aftermath of the Blair Witch, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
But it also like ties into that hysteria, the group hysteria thing they kept going back into. Like, is it really a legendary witch that's coming in and creating all this havoc? Or is it in people's heads? Like, they built up the legends and the story and the
there's
fear
gotta
and
be
the
something
drinking, the
supernatural
drugs,
to
and
it,
all
though.
of that
Yeah,
stuff,
I
like
agree.
creating all that.
It's got to be something
Madness.
supernatural because they
Mhm.
walk in fine.
Oh my god, it scared the out of me!
Oh man.
Crying.
Yeah, so it did really explore those themes of is it real, is it not, and just, you know, are people being possessed or, you know, like led to do crazy things by the witch, or, you know, did they just get too faded one night
And it's a
because they're
big
all
perception
partying hard?
thing. Perception
Mhm.
plays a huge part in this movie. It's
Yeah.
what do the characters perceive as opposed to what are they actually doing.
Yeah,
Right.
which is a little nonsensical at times.
It is, and it's
which is why I
honestly
don't remember liking
is a
it.
bit of a script loophole. It's
Yeah.
like they can change anything they want and just attribute it to that, and it's like, well,
I totally remember things happening this way. Oh,
bit
well, the video footage is
shortcutty,
going to
yeah.
show it differently.
yeah, exactly. It's like, well, okay, it's just that simple, really.
Mhm.
But you know, I think
It's
even
all about
that was
perception,
done kind
though,
of
like you
effectively.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was pretty well shot too. I gotta say, you know, the cinematography from those opening scenes of the woods, you know,
Mhm.
those aerial
So
shots
the
were
last
cool.
one, yeah,
to-
the last big turning helicopter shot, and then
Once they leave the woods, I thought that scene or the building or whatever, it was
The
an
factory.
old factory. I thought that was a cool set
It was
too.
an old broom factory.
yeah, that was a little. Oh,
Ah,
really?
yeah.
God, that's terrible.
didn't catch that?
I
Oh,
heard
that's-
that now.
I did hear it,
I
but I didn't
remember
make a
it.
It was
connection.
at the end, and they're like, and here's the
Oh,
old broom
jeez,
factory.
that's terrible.
Mm.
Your appetite for nudity will be satiated more in this one than
Yeah.
in the first one.
Oh,
There
'cause there
was
was none in the first.
there was some female and male nudity in
Yeah,
this, so
there was.
y'all can be excited either way.
Some
Yeah.
nice booties, gotta say.
Nice booties, nice boobies, a little
Yeah.
bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. Yeah,
But
very
and then
natural.
let's talk about the gore though.
Yeah.
Not a lot
Not
to
a lot.
speak of, but the brief flashes we got of it, I thought were effective.
Yeah.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was digging the whole, like, they really brought in the witch atmosphere, like what you perceive of it, witch, like the whole, like, the mass orgy and sacrifice ritual that they seem to have gone through the night before that they were completely unaware of.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
It's
Yeah.
20 years later.
I know, I know.
Oh, this one's fun.
Yeah, I like that aspect. I liked how they didn't know what was happening, and they still didn't quite understand reality. They had like a break in reality. It just reminded me of having like a really bad drug trip the whole movie.
Well, they are doing a lot of drugs
They
and
were
drinking
doing-
in the movie,
they-
which
I
is where
thought-
you would think
I
you're
noticed
like,
like 6 or 7 different types of drugs I didn't even know existed when I first watched this
well,
movie.
and then they play the Queens of the Stone Age song where he's talking about nicotine, Vicodin, cocaine, LSD, blah blah blah. That greatest hit of the summer or whatever
Yeah.
the hell song. But
So like being on the alcohol they were in, feeding each other about the legends, plus the drugs that they were doing, like it's kind of makes sense that we would be seeing their perspective of what occurred after that, you know,
Sure.
that
and
mass.
they did keep it vague enough where you're like, was the witch really possessing them, or
Or
were
were
they
they
just faded all weekend and blacked out, drunk, acting crazy, and fighting with each other from?
They ended up going crazy about it.
Huh?
Mhm.
So there's lots of perceptive issues that I felt in the end worked to the film's strengths, and I didn't
Mhm.
remember as, you know, in the initial viewing as being as just effective, like you said.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So honestly, I'm glad I watched it again this time.
Ditto.
I was happier with it than I remembered being, and now sort of the Blair Witch series is stronger in my mind than it kind of ever has been, especially considering the new one, which if you guys come back this Friday, you'll be able to hear us talk all spoilery about it.
Yeah.
You can already check out our review of it. It's up, but we held off on the spoilers to make sure all of you guys got a chance to see it before it could get ruined for you.
And that felt more like a true sequel compared to
Absolutely,
this being almost
yeah.
like a Divergent side story spin-off almost, you know, taking place within the world like you said, but not continuing the story like the new one does.
Right.
Yeah. So prepare to watch our spoilers on Friday. Thanks for watching this today, our review of Book of Shadows, The Blair Witch Project 2. Thanks for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And I'm March Parker.
And until next time, remember,
Stay scared.